Okay, so this will start a new notebook, and this will be chapter 9.1, and this will be totally review. This is on the midpoint and distance formula. You've had the distance formula since at least pre-algebra, algebra 1, and the midpoint formula at least since geometry. Okay. Midpoint formula. If they give you two ordered pairs and say find the midpoint, they can give you two ordered pairs and say, hey, find the midpoint in between them, okay? Or they can give you one endpoint, one midpoint, and say find the other endpoint. So if they label this as x sub 1, y sub 1 as one point, and say this one is x sub 2, y sub 2, and the m, uppercase M for the midpoint, the formula is m equals, add the x's, because midpoint is in the middle, so it's like an average. You add the x's together and divide by 2, and you add the y's together and divide by 2. Okay? If they gave you, as an example, say I give you this midpoint is negative 3, 5, and this point, endpoint, is 1, 2. Now, instead of saying find the midpoint, I'm saying find this other endpoint. Okay? So, you sub in, the midpoint is negative 3, 5. You don't know the x sub 1. You do know the x sub 2 is 1. The y sub 1 you don't know. The y sub 2 is 2. Okay, and for those two ordered pairs to be equal, this x value has to equal this whole x value. So set them equal. So set negative 3 equal to x sub 1 plus 1 over 2. Get rid of that fraction, multiply by 2, or you can think of this as over 1 if you want to, and cross multiply. So you get negative 6 equals x sub 1 plus 1, subtract 1, so I get x sub 1 equals negative 7. Check my arithmetic. You agree? Okay, then set this y value equal to this y value. Okay, so 5 is equal to, this should be y sub 1 plus 2 over 2. And you can think of this as over 1. Cross multiply. You'd get 10 equals y sub 1 plus 2. Subtract 2. And you'd get 8 equals y sub 1. So if we said this is negative 7, 8. Now, check it. If you add those two x values together, if you add, let's do it this way, if you add this x value plus this x value, negative 7 plus 1, negative 6, and divide by 2, do you get that midpoint? Yep. Add this x value, 8 plus 2, 10, divide by 2, yeah. Okay? So, one formula is the midpoint formula, and people, I'm still fighting my seniors on write down the quadratic formula and substitute in. On formulas in math, if I can do one thing for you as a math teacher, is to get you to write the formula down, substitute in, simplify. Do not go to this line. Write the formula down first. On some of these, they're going to give you two endpoints and say find the midpoint. Some of them are going to do just what we did on this one. They're going to give you one endpoint, one midpoint, and say find the other endpoint. Okay? So it depends on what they give you in the problem and what they ask for. Okay, so that's one part. Okay? The other part is the distance formula. Distance formula, they will give you two ordered pairs and say find the distance between these two ordered pairs. So if I said this point is x sub 1, y sub 1, and this point is x sub 2, y sub 2, and I want to know what's the distance between them. Okay? So D equals, can you write it down without me?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
X plus.
Yep. X sub 2 minus X sub 1.
Y sub
Yeah, and then a plus sign in between. Y sub 2 minus Y sub 1 quantity squared. Okay. So it's the difference in the X values, X sub 2 minus X sub 1 quantity squared plus Y sub 2 minus Y sub 1 quantity squared. And then you just fill in the ordered pairs, and most of the time it will be simplified radical form. Do not, everybody listen up, do not go to decimal form unless the author says to in the directions. If the author says round to the nearest tenth, then go to your calculator. If they don't, if they just say find the distance, then I want simplified radical form. Okay? Because that's an exact answer. Decimal form's rounded. Okay? Okay, and the last thing in this section, Pythagorean theorem. Yep. You see that over and over and over again. Pythagorean theorem, if they give you a right triangle, and remember, just like in geometry, they'll always use like uppercase letters for the angles, lowercase letters for the sides, and it would be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The reason they're going back through this is because you ought to be able to check any of the distance formulas. You could go back, and on the distance you could draw a Pythagorean theorem. You could change this into a right triangle up here and figure out the A, the B, and the C and check your answer by Pythagorean theorem. Okay? Okay, that's it.